Welcome to the Warrant Committee. We've got a quorum, we've got an agenda. The first item is to designate Warrant Committee member to authorize FY 2024 year-end and reserve fund transfers. This is what happens. FY 24 is up June 30. The town is allowed sometime by the state to do adjustments to the calendar, to the adjustments in the budget to close out the year to zero out accounts, because these are going to be expenditures, the nature of which require warrant committee approval. But the custom has been, and I just plumb forgot this year, we would do this at the annual, authorizing a warrant committee member. You know, generally it's the chair, but I'm outgoing on June 30 to authorize an individual to go in and sign on behalf of the warrant committee's approval. Okay, so this is what we've done, is that it's been me for the last couple of years. I go in and I sign, but I let the committee know when it's happening. Sent out, we usually get from Amy Dexter, you know, a chart describing all of it, so that we can go in, authorize the year-end transfers so that they again can zero out the accounts. And legally, because the bylaws require warrant committee approval of these expenditures. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about that? Any questions, comments, discussion? Lori.
You're on mute.
Lori, you're not on mute, but we can't hear you.
Plug your headphones in.
I plugged them in. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Can any can hear me? I can't hear you. Oh, I was just going to make a motion. Can I make a motion, or should we still discuss?
I don't see any call for further discussion. What's your motion?
I was just going to make a motion for Tom Caldwell as the secretary to do the sign off.
Is there a second to the motion? Jay has given us a 2 and a thumbs up. So the second would be by Jay Fundling. Thank you, Jay. Karen, would you please do a roll call vote? Jay has his hand up.
Yeah, I just want to clarify what it is that will be done. I think I remember from last year, although I might not have been correct at that point. So I think there are two things going on. There's the reserve fund, which money can only be moved out of reserve fund with our permission. So at the end of the year, if some of the budgets are coming up short, Amy Dexter will ask for some money from the reserve fund, and Tom, representing all of us, would say yes to that. That's, I believe, one of the things that's happening.
Yes.
And I believe a second thing that's happening is if budget A didn't spend all their money and has a surplus at the end of the year, and budget B has not enough, that Amy can request money moved from one budget to another. Is that also this, or is that something else?
Right. So let's see. What I'm doing is I'm looking through the transfers from last year, and there's a lot. Most of the changes are going to be transfers within budgets in, say, the are going to be budgets in various departments. There's a lot of transfers where there's a difference between what was paid out in salaries and wages and what was appropriated. And so within those budgets, they're going to be moving money in and out of general expenses into, say, salaries and wages. That's the big one. Is because again, when we make our appropriations for budgets based upon expectations, but then we get the actual numbers, and so then they move money, say, from general expenses and into the salaries and wages. So a lot of the transfers will be of that nature. And then, like you said, Jay, the other one would be the appropriation out of the reserve fund, okay? And that's the one where I would really encourage people, when we get these things, if it is to Tom, we'll get it to Tom, and he spreads that around so people can see. Because sometimes there's things that are coming out of the reserve fund, things that we've seen before, requests on needs-based budgets that are being filled out of the reserve fund. And so, those are the ones that we, I definitely like to get clear answers from the town administrator and from Amy Dexter as to the rationale behind those. Because a lot of these transfers are basic housekeeping. The majority of it is basic housekeeping, make sure the left side matches the right side. But there will be some requests coming out of the reserve fund, that would really, I would usually apply a reasonableness test to, okay? Julia Maxwell, you have your hand up?
Yeah, and so why is this, why are we like nominating an individual to sign off on this versus the whole committee signing off on it?
Yep. So one of the reasons is that I think the reason why we do it this way is because of the time. What's going to happen is on June 30th, we're going to lose 5 members of the warrant committee, and then the rest of the committee will not be formed up until the new oaths of offices are taken. So one of the things that this does is it allows for the warrant committee to take action on these things that are on a timeline at a time when the warrant committee might actually be kind of offline if we don't have enough members of a quorum to constitute, people have taken the oath, et cetera. So I think what they've done, there is definitely an element of convenience to this, is that it allows the warrant committee to approve these things, in this compressed time following, the end of the fiscal year, which also coincides with the expiration of our terms. And so the risk, sort of the trade-off for all that is process, is that it puts a lot of authority into the town administrator and to Amy Dexter and to who's ever signing on behalf of the warrant committee. So that's one of the reasons why I would encourage, people to take part. Steve.
Thanks. Thank you. A lot of questions from all that to unpack around the 5 vacancies, et cetera. But I'll start with one question I have. Thanks for the clarity, both member Jay and Mr. Chair, for that. It helps me understand. So my question is, with respect to moving reserve fund into cover expenses, what is the impact on the budget for next year if we do something like that? Does that set a new baseline for next year? I know it's not going to, I'm not sure how much they're asking for, but what does that do to our budgets next year? Is it a one-time expense? Is this thing an ongoing expense? These are questions I have because this past year, when we looked at the budget, it was short, right? So I'm trying to understand what does the long game look like for us here?
Right. My sense is that it will not establish a new baseline. It's generally the baseline that we use to start. The most important, there's a lot of ways to look at like what's the baseline. I think that what we start at is appropriations year over year. Now, there's sometimes you get a difference between appropriations and actual, but I think we start at appropriations year over year. Most of the adjustments will be made within department accounts, so that wouldn't change appropriation. That won't change anything. Those accounts should zero out. It's true. It's what if so many thousands of dollars is taken out of a baseline for a some type of expenditure. I don't think we're going to see expenditures for positions. Things that I have seen in the past are expenditures were sort of for IT purchases and things like that. So I don't. So the question is going forward. I don't see a major impact. There's going to be an effect anytime you move any money around from here to there. There's an effect. Somebody gets something that somebody else didn't get. But as far as would that be a driver in the future, my sense is it'd be very limited.
Okay, thank you.
Lori.
I just wanted to also say to the committee, anybody can go. So you should all feel free to go when it's scheduled. It's during the day. So sometimes that's a hard thing for people, but feel free to go and attend the meeting.
Karen.
I just looked back at this meeting a year ago, and Amy Dexter attended it, and the minutes are posted on the website, and you should probably have them too. And she explained it as a common thing that is done. She came and explained it. We probably should have thought to have her come this year, but there's a full explanation in the June 26, 2023 minutes of why this is done and how it kind of has to be done this way. And I think, as Lori just said, you invited anybody that would like to come with you if they were concerned.
Dave, I don't have my full Zoom here, so pardon me without raising my hand.
No, go right ahead, Judy.
Thank you. To somewhat, as Julia mentioned, why don't we all go? I happened to be free when it was last year, and I went down and I sort of learned a lot. To Julia, and to reiterate what Lori said, I was somewhat very confused, but if I had a question, both Nick and Amy enlightened me about the process, and it was clearly not just a one person making a decision in regards to that there was discussion if a warrant committee member had a sense of confusion about how the money was rolling around. So I don't know where my hands are. My computer is trying to do an update while I'm doing a Zoom, and I apologize.
Thank you for that, Judy. And thank you for coming last year. It's true. I got to tell you, I want to say that when you added it all up, even though most of it was from left side to right side within a department, I think when we added it all up, it was something like, it was a lot. It could be a couple $1 million. So, the more people who are there in the room, at least just to witness and to be there and to be comfortable that everything's above board, because it's true. There's a lot of money that's getting signed off on at that table. So
That's kind of the point too, right? You can ask clarifying questions. Why is this happening? How did you miss this? What is the need, etc. It's a great point.
Right, right. So, so I guess what I'm saying is trying to articulate the need to like put as much process on it that we can under the circumstances in order to, uphold our obligation to the town
Yeah.
to, to be the warrant committee. Any other questions? Any other discussion? Julia?
And sorry, when is that meeting?
So the meeting has yet to be posted. I spoke with Amy Dexter. She said that she expects to have the numbers. She said in the second week of July.
Okay, thank you.
That's a great question. When? Any other questions? Hearing none, there was a motion that was made by Lori, seconded by Jay. Julia?
Sorry, a process question that I think kind of came up when we were voting on chairs and secretaries last year. Is there a way in which we could consider multiple people like in the same vote, or do we need to do it one person at a time?
That's I think that Allison.
I believe though the process has been previously is that we vote on the person was nominated first. I think when that was an exception to it, but previously we've always voted on the person that's been nominated.
Okay, thank you, Allison. And as a practical matter, I think the form has like one signature line on it. Jay.
Yeah, and I guess maybe it's just a matter of perspective, but I would say last year we voted, do we give the chair the permission to do this, representing the whole committee? And I would say right now we're voting, do we give the secretary the permission to do this representing the whole committee? It's not, here's a position, let's see who fills it. Maybe it's tomato, a matter of perspective, but that's why I would see it's in this.
No, thank you for that, Jay. I mean, you're right. So, the vote is, if it was Tom, to authorize Tom to decide, to vote, to sign on behalf of the warrant committee, which would mean that ultimately the weight of the decision would be on him. We're asking for the members of the warrant committee, to be able to have, oversight, to have more people there looking at the numbers to hear the explanation. But ultimately, when it comes right down to it, yes, it would be giving him the authority to ultimately make the call as evidenced by the signature.
Would you like me to read the wording from last year? Is that helpful?
Sure, thank you.
Mr. Langley move the committee vote to authorize the chair to review and approve, end of year fiscal transfers between departments and out of the reserve fund. And that was it.
Yes, and that says between departments. So, right, between departments, so it's gonna be between departments, within departments, and from the reserve fund. So it's a lot of moving money around. Judy.
Thank you, Dave. Again, I apologize for my whacked out Zoom thing here. Just an observation. I think my opinion is that we as a warrant committee, should put the the onus of a signature on one of our voted in two top positions, which would be the chair and the secretary. At the time we voted for the people that occupy those positions, we put our faith and our trust into bringing them into those positions on our warrant committee. That being said, I do believe having our secretary perform this duty, because at that time we will not have elected a new chair, is the right way to go here. And knowing, as I know, that any one of us, and I know people have day jobs that they can't leave, but that there's always somebody else from the warrant committee that shows up to these meetings, to this meeting with Amy and Nick. And again, the parties were very amenable to any questions brought forth by a warrant committee member, however many of us are able to be there. Thank you.
Any further discussion, questions, comments? Hearing none. Karen, would you conduct the vote, please?
Sure. Tom,
Stan?
Lori,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Yes.
Allison,
Yeah.
Julie.
Yes.
No,
Oh, sorry.
okay. Sorry, no, yep. Kristen,
Yes.
Julia,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Judy.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next we got some minutes that Madam Clerk worked diligently on to get everybody for review. I trust that everyone went through them meticulously. We have in the past voted them in as a slate, unless we would like to have, discussion in the minutes in particular. Any thoughts on that? Lori?
I had a couple of changes to the February 5th minutes. That, should I make a motion to amend them now?
Sure.
I make a motion to amend the February 5th, 2024 minutes, section 2, the first paragraph, the last line. It says the total projected levy for next year is approximately 1.1 million. It's actually 101 million.
So before I ask for a second on that just yet, does anybody have any discussion, feedback on that? We taking a look at that? Karen, what do you think? Do you think it's just a typo? Karen, you're muted.
Just gonna keep talking to nobody. I 100% assume it's a typo. I will check the meeting tape just in case.
I did.
Oh, okay.
I did.
Well, it was definitely a typo then. Yeah.
His presentation shows 101. He said 101.
Okay.
I think it's just a typo.
Absolutely.
I thought it should be changed.
All right. If it sounds like it's just a typo or a scrivener's error, you know, I think I don't think we even would need to make an amendment on that, but while or make a motion on that, but while there's a motion that's on, just abundance of caution, while there's a motion that's on the table made by Lori, is there a second to change that from 1.1 approximately to 101 million approximately? Is there a second?
Second.
Thomas made a second. Any need for further discussion? Karen, could you please do a vote on the amendment to the February 2024 minutes?
Sure. Tom,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Allison. I'm on a different screen. Maybe she's left the meeting. I'll come back to her. Julie?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay,
sorry.
Allison.
It takes a second. Thank you.
So that was a yes?
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Julia,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Judy,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, so we made an amendment to February minutes.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't yet adopted them, though.
Okay.
Were there any other, Lori?
So I have another issue in them, in that set, but it's kind of consistent throughout. It's when we refer to the stretch code, when it's really the opt-in specialized code. I don't know if that, because the stretch code is what is currently in place in the town of Milton versus the opt-in that we just did that took us one level higher. And so there's reference to that throughout most of the minute packages. That, I don't know if that can be considered a Scrivener's error, but it's just the reference to how it's stated. And I'd be happy to, I mean, I'm just clarifying the actual code that was, the heading of the code, the name of the code from the Warrant article instead of stretch code.
I mean, what do people think about that? Could we vote to adopt the minutes subject to, the edits to properly designate, that which we discussed with there being, it's true, a difference between the stretch code and the opt-in specialized code. It's true. So the choice would be either we do that, or which would be to, approve the minutes subject to that edit, which I think is probably a Scrivener's error, or if we're not comfortable with that, then we don't adopt them, we make the changes, and then they come back, subject to a new motion. What does the committee think?
How much work would that be for Karen?
It will be correct. It needs to be corrected either way. So all it involves on my end is resending them to you guys and it being voted on at another meeting. It's also my job, so it's.
Well, I
And
know.
Lori did say that she would help with that, because
Oh,
Lori,
it's fine. I have it's not. I shouldn't be a factor in the vote.
Julia.
I do think it's worth correcting, given how, those are two different terms, and I think we need to not be using them interchangeably, especially for the record. So I would say it should get corrected one way or another.
Right.
We could remove it from this vote and just resubmit it for another vote.
But it's referenced in a number of them.
Oh, in minutes.
In the minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
The best practice would probably be then to not vote to approve the minutes. Time is not of the essence here. It is the record. The record needs to be correct. taking a pause to go through and make sure that we get every single one, because if we have a vote to approve is subject to the edit and then we miss some somehow, we've missed it. So it's probably the best practice would probably just be go through it one more time, catch them, review it, and then do the vote, would be my sense. There's no rush here to get these done.
I can go through them this week and resubmit them for whenever you meet next.
Should I tell you my other changes or should I give them?
I
to
think
you,
if we're
just
gonna pull
email
them all, yeah, why don't you just
Okay.
send them to me? That's why I submit them ahead of time. So
Okay, sorry,
that
I
would be great. Yeah.
didn't get to them sooner.
No. All right, thank you. Okay, so that's our two agenda items for tonight. So we're done. I'm done. Kristen Kosil, I think, and our terms are up this go around. So on behalf of Kristen and myself and the other members who won't be back, I'd like to say thank you to everybody for the hard work that you put in on the Warrant Committee. You know, I'm talking around town. It is appreciated. And you should all be commended, you know, for stepping forward and volunteering for this difficult job. Okay. So I wish you the best, and I wish you fair winds and following seas. And if I see you around town, let's say hi. All right.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks,
Okay.
Thank you, Dave.
Kristen.
Dave,
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Dave, could I say something very quickly?
Sure.
Before we hear a motion to adjourn, Dave, I want to thank you for your service to the town and especially in your role the past couple of years as chair. Definitely some difficult issues that you dealt with, including us. So I want to thank you. And just as to the budget sign off end of year, I'll work with Dave in his last couple of weeks. I will reach out to Nick and to Amy Dexter via email. I will tell them regarding the vote, what my role will be moving forward in terms of authorizing. And I will circulate that to everybody when a meeting date is set. Any information I receive, I will forward it on to everybody and do my best to reach out just so you're aware of the meeting and some of the things we're going to discuss. So thanks for having faith.
Thank you, Tom. Is there an objection to the motion to adjourn?
Somebody
We are
make it.
adjourned. Ciao.
Bye.
See you guys. Bye.
Thank you.